I just made the best Spawn figure in the history of ever.
So you may be wondering, why don't I just go to the store and get an officially licensed McFarlane figure? Well, to be honest, they kind of blow.
They've never really done it for me. They always have rubber capes or a big fat boot. This one's a cowboy for some reason. Spawn's not green.
Donkey!
Why did I buy this? Todd wants to make statues so bad, he didn't even give this guy ab articulation.
Looking good, looking cool, looking sassy.
This is where my super amazing chocolate covered custom comes in and perfects these issues. Perfects? Corrects.
Before we jump into actually making this guy, let's go over some of our goals. We want articulation, accuracy, and functionality. You want a custom that you can actually pose around without it falling apart. Or, dare I say, paint rub. The biggest problem to overcome with large full body customs like this is paint rub, which is a huge deterrent for people because of the fact that it's very labor intensive. Anytime anyone says you have to prep the figure, I have already mentally checked out. So the key to solving paint rub is to not use paint to begin with. Yep, that's right, we're going to be dyeing the figure. The first thing we need to get is our base body. This beautiful bastard is the V-Toys base body. It's got a great build, great articulation, and very durable. I've used this for tons of customs, so this is a great base to use for this Spawn. You can pick this guy up at 5K Toys, that's where I got mine. He's like retailing for about $25. This is actually the cheapest he's ever been, so I recommend picking him up before supply runs out. Then you want to go ahead and grab yourself a Spawn figure. It doesn't really matter which one, because we're just going to be using the parts from it. Then you can go ahead and get a Flash figure for the wrist joints. You manage to get this guy for a good price. You get the red wrist joints and the Spawn pieces all in one. And since Spawn is two different tones, we need two different dyes: synthetic racing red and synthetic graphite. Rit dye by Dye More. Getting into the other materials you'll need a funnel to get the dye back into the container. I have this to like kind of sift the parts out. Then I have two of these fry holders. This is to keep the parts compressed so they don't float around while they're dyeing. And then I have this Tupperware to keep the parts in while I'm rinsing them off and washing them. Then to actually dye the parts, I have this crock pot because it's stove safe and it's plenty of space to put as many parts as you need in there.
I hope you're hungry. For nothing.
We're also going to need iodized salt. I don't know the science behind this, it's to lock in the dye though. And then we need dish soap to wash all the parts when we're done. And of course we can't forget our base body. And from there we're going to take our V-Toys body and start the dyeing process. And before you know it, you have a completely finished Spawn cape and all. Quick pause here. Obviously, this isn't how it's going to go. I'm a dum-dum and forgot to record the dyeing process. What I will advise you on is dye the red parts red first, then the black parts black. The reason why is that the black dye can easily overpower the red if there's any black dye residue left in the crock pot. Let's get back to it together, shall we? When you're done dyeing the figure, it should look something like this. You got the two tones, you got the red in the red parts and the black in the black parts. And as you can see, tons of posability and no paint rub. I think it's time to move on to the next step. As you can see, our finished product has these pretty white lines all over it. These are accurate to the source material, so we need to sculpt them on. Now we're talking about sculpting. And to talk about sculpting, we have to talk about the stuff that I used. What stuff? Green stuff. This stuff is really easy to use. Basically, you mix equal parts blue, equal parts yellow, mix it together, and it makes green. But with that, you mold it into the shape that you need. For this project, it was the M on Spawn's chest that leads onto his abs, then onto his diaper piece. The only headache that I had with this was lining it up. But it's because I'm kind of a knucklehead, but you will probably have no problem with it. Just make sure that you line it up correctly, and then my recommendation is lay it on the body and then cut it into segments. Once you have it split onto the chest, then onto the abs, then onto the diaper piece. That way it lines up perfectly. Putty has 1.5 to 2 hour work time, fully cures in 24 hours. So you have plenty of time to work with this stuff before it cures on you. Get in the right position that you want, and then you can sand it and paint it and do all sorts. To make sure it's smooth and doesn't hinder articulation, we need to Dremel it down. This will also stop any possible paint chipping. Once you sand and sculpt everything the way you want it, then you can go ahead and paint it, and it should look something like this.
Nice.
Next part is
Oh, mama!
this great spawn cape is from MaxBird 986. If you're not familiar with them, they create fantastic soft goods, so go and check them out. Very intricate, and their attention to detail is really good. One detail that I overlooked is the fact that they use red dye in the cape. So red dye mixed with our white sculpted parts, it ended up turning them pink, which was really annoying because we just finished them. I was ready to give up, but luckily my friend Toy Surgeon was able to come up with a solution. If you haven't heard of Toy Surgeon, he does fantastic work with cloth goods and also dyeing figures. If I'm being honest, I would have never dyed this figure if I hadn't learned how from his video tutorials. So instead of giving up, I sent him the cape and he came up with a solution of adding a film to one side of the cape so that the dye doesn't bleed from the cape onto the figure. That's why the inside of the cape is black and the outside is red. He even came up with a unique way for the cape to attach to the figure without having to use magnets or glue.
So you put your caps in, and then you take your first one, pop in, bam. Put your other one, pop it in. That should get the whole bottom. There you go. And then there you go. And your boy stable now. No flopping around. It's nice and sturdy. Moves when he moves.
He even added some fantastic weathering to the edges of the cape to really give it some depth. So, in all honesty, huge thanks to Toy Surgeon. This project wouldn't be complete without him. Part of me is kind of glad that I forgot to film the dyeing portion of the figure because of the fact that I can steer you guys towards his page. He has such in-depth tutorials. It wouldn't make sense for an amateur like me to explain the dyeing process when a pro like him could do it way more in depth. So check out Toy Surgeon's page for sure. If you made it this far, we're in the home stretch. Don't worry. We're going to take the parts from this McFarlane figure. Like I had mentioned earlier, it doesn't really matter which McFarlane figure you use, you're just using the parts. I was going for a first appearance spawn, so no big fat boot and no mitten. I've always hated the big boot, but that's my opinion! So let's take the parts from this guy. 1E and a 2E and a... And just like that, Spawn is done. Well, there are a few things I didn't mention, like how the original hands on the Spawn figure were absolutely massive. So massive, in fact, that I had to get custom-made hands by Slow Ship Customs. If you haven't heard of him, first off, what's wrong with you? But mainly, he is a great designer and one of the people I'm closest to in the community. He does phenomenal work and he takes commissions. So go hit up his page and put his ass to work. I was even able to print some in translucent green resin to give off that ectoplasm effect.
He slimed me.
I got 2 head sculpts from Toyman Kid and printed them and painted them myself. 1 masked head sculpt and 1 unmasked.
But wait! There's more!
I maintain that this is the best Spawn figure in creation. Even though it was somewhat difficult to achieve this, it was one of the more labor-intensive projects that I've had to work on. I'd be lying if I told you, let's try it, wasn't the mantra for this entire custom. I will say though, I've been doing this for so long, something that I've learned is that the harder you work on something, it's that much more rewarding when it's finally done. Part of that reward is looking at the finished product and realizing that all your labor and meticulous attention to detail was all worth it. And the other part of the reward is just thanking the old gods and the new that this is finally off your workbench.
Take that, you winged spawn of Satan!
All that being said though, this has to be my favorite custom of 2024, and I'm absolutely in love with the finished product. But what I'm really excited about is seeing what you guys do with this formula. I hope your custom comes out even better than mine.
Because guess what? As far as I know, I'm already dead. Which means I'm waiting for your sorry ass in the afterlife. Let that little mystery keep you up at night.
Hey guys, it's Jack from Decent Customs. I really hope you liked the video. I spent a lot of time on it. That's why I had 3 different changes of clothes, is because I filmed over the course of 3 different days. I'm also on Instagram, so go ahead and check that out at Decent Customs. I am constantly working on new projects and I'm showing off commissions that I've worked on for people. It's really fun. I enjoy doing it. I also just launched Decent Customs Workshop. We have tons of cool stuff on there where you can buy individual head sculpts painted by me, or blank sculpts, or even get commissions painted by me. It's a lot of cool stuff, and I'm hopefully going to expand it into even more things into the future. That being said, these videos take a lot of time to edit and put together. Subscribing and liking the video would really help. I am trying to transition into doing social media and painting full time, so any little contribution helps. That being said, I appreciate your guys' support and your patience. Next video is hopefully going to be more consistent than the wait time for this, but again, these do take a long time to put together. It could be in 2 weeks, could be, I don't know, a month from now, but thank you so much for your patience and for sticking by. I'll see you guys on the next one. I appreciate you guys. Bye.